Hello and welcome to TMKF Netrunner. I'm Not Yeti,
And I'm Fridan.
which is important because this game is one where you are on stream.
I am there on the right, yeah.
And this is the first round of the cut.
Yeah.
A single elimination top 8 cut.
Yeah, harsh stuff. One game, one life,
Yeah.
one chance.
And you had finished top of Swiss.
Yeah.
And Kikai here and just squeaked in 8th place. I think strength of schedule, getting on into the cut.
Yeah. Deploying my secret weapon there, fruit and nuts.
Fruit and nuts. Necessary for every...
That's the Cobra Bubbles secret tech is eat fruit and nuts all day, you'll feel much better.
So
and it works.
You're playing Shoot the Moon PD.
I am. I was kind of slight variant on it, where we cut the Southern Commandment for border control to give us a little bit more play in the remote.
Seems very sensible.
Maybe a little bit of a tech option against some criminalists. Important here. We can stop a diversion of funds at a key point. And a slightly changed agenda suite where we have swapped out the off-world officers. So swapped out 2 of those for a 3rd ICWA and a superconducting hub.
What's the thought process there?
It gives us a little bit more robust of an agenda suite. It means we've got a few different scoring patterns where we can go 2 ICWAs and a superconducting, or we can go 2-2-1 or 2-2-2-1. But also it just means it's a little bit harder for the runner to steal 7 points from us, because if they steal the superconducting hub, they have to steal 2 ICWAs for it to ever matter, which is much harder work than it is stealing the 4-2s.
That makes a lot of sense, and the person who worked with you the most on this list would be Kikai, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That agenda suite and that change came from Kikai.
Okay.
And discussions with him. So we've put a lot of work together into kind of this deck, and we've been playing the game together for pretty much the entire lifetime of the game. A long kind of standing Norwich-Cambridge rivalry.
Nice.
Mostly on my end because Ben's just really nice about it.
So, had you tested into Steve before?
Not a huge amount. I'd played a lot, been playing this kind of PD list in various forms across the regional season, having a lot of success with it and kind of improving over each tournament. And I've played against a few criminals in that time, and the games are close, but I felt better about this version of PD than I did about the kind of more traditional Anoretic Void, because you've got YDL, because you can bounce up from low credits, and because you've got cheaper ice in general. You can be a little bit more resilient into that kind of economic denial plan.
And so you've got a... so you and Kikai played in round 7 of Swiss, right? The final round of Swiss?
Round 6.
Round 6 of Swiss.
Able to take an ID in the last round for being undefeated so far.
And you won that game, but you were playing the opposite matchup, right?
Yes, that's right. So in the final round for me, it was my crew Hashiko into Asmari, which was a close game, but it went well. So I managed to win that one, but it was pretty tight. And then I had the choice going into here of which side to play.
And you came up and asked me. I played the Asmari and the Steve, same as
sage advice here, to say, what side do you think? Because I was thinking both are pretty tricky. Steve has more economic denial pressure, and potentially Bankar causes problems for us. But equally, if Asmari kind of high rolls its opening draw, any deck is in trouble.
Yeah.
So it was really a case of, ultimately, after discussing it, it was kind of saying, well, if Asmari gets a great draw, I've probably just lost. If Steve gets a great draw, I probably still have a game. It's really hard, but I have a game. And that was kind of what decided it here to play this matchup.
Plus, entertainingly, I think since we've had that conversation, we've tested a lot more of the Crew Hosh into Asmari matchup, and I actually think that you were probably pretty favoured there, but...
Yeah, if you asked me that question today, I would 100% make the other choice.
So there's some good context to know going into this one.
But, we made the choice on the day, and I think at the time, I felt okay with that.
Felt happy.
So, yeah.
No, that makes sense, and I'm assuming there's some announcements and things going on.
Yeah, I think we're, just chatting through... and I'm always just happy to
at this point
with Kikai.
I'd buggered off to the pub, and was eating a very lovely, strange tofu dinner. I don't remember if I talked to you about this.
I don't think so.
So the pub, which is the Devonshire Arms, which is near the venue, very nice pub, and has like a kind of like Jamaican kitchen thing or Caribbean kitchen thing going on.
Yeah.
And they had like a tofu dish on the menu that I ordered, and it was kind of like big old block of deep fried tofu.
Ooh.
Roasted beetroot, mushroom, and onions, and the whole thing was in gravy.
Okay.
And it was delicious, but very strange.
Not something you would go looking for.
It was like, it arrived on the table and I kind of looked at it and I was like, I don't think this resembles what I ordered, which was called like glazed tofu.
So, in the game we've got Kikai basically playing the opening I was dreading.
Sure Gamble, Banha,
and Earthrise. It doesn't look good. That's a scary start. Means we're gonna have to get double ice
on a lot of these servers.
Yeah.
Double ice on HQ, double ice on the remote. The upgrade's quite powerful. Steve doesn't run pinhole threading.
No.
Which is important for the PD matchup, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've got a Managan in hand there. But equally, yeah. Not a lot of money. I think I've got YDL, but I'm trying to save it for a bigger turn, because I know we need a lot more money than we normally would in this matchup.
Yeah, the post Rashida YDL is really what you're looking for, but
yeah, although with the banner on the table, that's going to be a lot harder to pull off.
Yeah, for sure. And also the Earthrise just really giving us that card draw to be able
constant tempo and to keep up.
Yeah. It can be really difficult though, because at the start of your turn there are a lot of important one-offs in the Steve deck, right? And if at the start of your turn you're looking at a server, you're eyeing it up and you think, yeah, I could run there, and then you draw into two cards that you really need to have on the table, it can really make your turn difficult when you're starting on 4 credits. We're career faring down.
Career fairing the class act. Again, like just this kind of tempo start is huge.
Yeah.
That's a good draw.
And I see a diversion of funds here in Kikai's hand, which
I believe that was part of the opening hand as well. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of pressure very early, which I think these kind of PD into criminal can often feel like, the first 5-10 cards are really key on both sides, because if criminal just draws a few breakers and not a lot of economy, they don't have a lot of cards to dig into their deck to get there faster, and PD can set up a remote turn 2 and start scoring incredibly quickly.
There's some interesting decisions that Kikai's making here. So click 1 was that install, then click 2 was draw, get the filter off the class act. Click 3 was draw.
Yeah, just
he's clearly looking for money, I think.
Yeah.
Or he's trying to pad his hand to play this wake implant and not hit some other important things on the table.
Protecting something. And we hit a Bravado.
And a Bravado is a card that Kikai would have, I think, really liked
pretty happy to play here. Yeah.
Drawing straight to a second one, but also drawing into a Sneak Door Beta, which is a card you cannot afford to lose.
Having double iced HQ here, knowing the Steve pressure is real and you have to respect it.
But I mean, it essentially turns off Banhar until you're able to put down this full cost card, right? Unless you decide
really don't want to be losing that, but
maybe he decides that in this matchup, actually, we can afford to lose it. It's open deckless at this point, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't have any
we
6
kind of,
strength ice, right? It's all
Gatekeeper being the
it's all like 3 cost ice.
Yeah. There are 2 brands in the list, but
oh really?
Yeah. So, but I'm quite early on thinking, I'm not going to use these brands. I just know I can't afford to, because an emergency shutdown is probably game ending.
I've just looked at the hand. I see the superconducting hub. I see another agenda.
Yeah, this is it's a bit of a tricky opening hand. There's more agendas than we'd like to see, and obviously with Banner on the table, it's going to be hard to start pushing them out anytime soon.
Wow. Kikai looking at a Poundweave, a Steel Skin, and something else, and potentially a Cat's Cradle. I'm not sure what that second card is. But choosing to bottom the Steel Skin, which feels bold to me as a man of a lot of installable cards in hand.
Yeah, I suppose with the Earthrise ticking, we don't necessarily want to flood ourselves in hand, but
so click 1, click for credit, click 2, and we are bravadoing HQ. I think that odds on he's taking 2 damage off of this, right?
Yeah. So raising Gatekeeper here, knowing
But if he loses Poundweave, if he loses Sneak Door, there are some important cards in hand to lose. And that's a Poundweave and a Revolver. 2 incredibly important cards for Steve.
Yeah, definitely. Would much prefer to have those on the table.
And continuing the run, which is also incredibly bold.
Yeah, second gatekeeper here. Gets to fire.
Do you have the YDL?
Knowing I need to fix the hand a little bit, we do not have the YDL.
But we are going to shuffle back some agendas.
And this is where, normally playing this deck, you don't shuffle back agendas. But here I put an Iqua back.
Yeah.
Because hand is
it's flooding up other things you need to score first.
Yeah, I don't want this Iqua sitting around for this long.
Okay. So Kikai on 7 credits now.
Yeah, looking reasonably healthy, but yeah, the revolver being gone means maybe there's a drafter somewhere that can be threatening.
Yeah, I mean drafter is very important. The reason why I think Kikai plays 3 copies of revolver in the list is essentially
because drafter
exists, and we played down that cat's cradle, which
it feels a turn.
Click too late.
But
he didn't have the money at the time.
No, absolutely.
And it will get him HQ accesses.
Yes.
Next turn, he would be able to send off a doof.
Here, having invested 6 credits in these gatekeepers, they no longer feel good.
They're now a 2 credit break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that this was an avoidable situation with the double gatekeeper, or do you stand by this kind of?
I think it was very much. That was the only ice I had
available. What you needed to do at
the time. And knowing I needed 2 ice on HQ as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Potentially though, could have spent more time clicking to draw to find better variety of ice.
If he doesn't have this cat's cradle, you are feeling a lot better about this. So.
But yeah, this was very much a game of playing turn to turn rather than thinking long term, because we're just on the defensive kind of position the whole time.
Install, and install. Triple install in the remote.
Triple install in the remote.
What do you think that is?
I honestly can't. I think it's Tranquility, it's Managarm, and I think it might be a Rashida, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, if you're Kikai here, do you think click 1 run that?
It's at least partly to make Kikai laugh.
I think the fact that you are making this play implies that things have not gone.
Yeah, it really suggests. If you're sitting there as the runner and you see this, you think something's gone wrong. I'm sitting on 4 credits. Obviously, don't want to be doing that. Here we want to find.
We get a strike fund.
We want a big YDL as soon as we can get one.
Yeah, and if I'm Kikai here, it's click 1, diversion of funds.
Yeah, I suppose you can get in.
Yeah, and then we can just run the remote.
Yeah.
And clean up. I guess you will get to res the Managarm and the...
Maybe duck a little bit.
You could duck 3 credits here, actually, which would not... Maybe
that's why he's not immediately going for it.
Yeah, so, no, I think I'm wrong on that one. But
yeah, if you spend the 2 clicks on diversion, then Managarm becomes a bit more of a problem.
Yeah, that is very true. And yeah, you might get away with that. So he's got 2 diversion in hand. What do you think he is thinking?
I suppose we'll
click 1 running.
Yeah, check this remote. Keep the if this is got the read that this is probably a Rashida with a Managarm.
Can't let the Rashida fire, basically.
Yeah, it's not going to be an agenda. But yeah, don't let the Rashida fire and just keep the economic denial running, essentially.
We see...
There's a Trank.
Which you can't trash. The other 2 you can, I think. It's Rashida, and I would trash the Managarm here.
I think yeah.
It looks like Kikai's leaving it.
Leaving it? Probably kind of recognising that...
No, it's going.
Okay, yeah.
And, okay. So I would say both of you on 2 credits. Kikai feeling stronger here.
Yeah. Strike fund as well, kind of bouncing back.
Up to 5, quickly. Losing a class act. We don't mind seeing that go to the bin.
Yeah, and this Tranquility, it will be helpful, but it's not going to get us up to any big credit totals anytime soon.
No, I mean, importantly, can get us up to 3, and if we have a Grace in the Palm, get us up to 5, which are potentially important numbers, but only if you have that kind of the gamble to follow it up with.
And we can't play Greasing just yet. But
what card do you think you just installed there?
I believe that was a Spin Doctor, just to get the money. Yeah, and we get the res straight away. Again, normally I prefer to.
2 Tattoo Bowlers.
Yeah, that can help. That can get us a bit of money back. I can't remember where it ends up going, but
you expect one of those to go on the remote server, right?
Yeah, but also I'm kind of expecting Kikai knows if I res that to not go through it right away, and with credits this low. it's, not giving me the 4 credits is going to be going to create some pressure elsewhere.
So this is a question I was about to ask. Do you think we are ever over-installing these gatekeepers? And it looks like that's
so getting rid of one just because saving the credit on the install means we can res it.
Yeah. And this means that if he wants to get HQ accesses, which is where there's a bunch of agendas and good stuff, he's got to give you some money. So even though you might bottom out doing this, I can totally see it being a good enough line of defense. And actually, with Banhar, he doesn't get the choice.
No, absolutely.
That's one of the really interesting things against Banhar decks is you can't choose to deny the tattoo.
Absolutely. Again, just kind of taking any line we can to eke ourselves back into an economic position where we can create some pressure. And then Sneak Door happens.
Yep, we Banhar HQ and then we play Sneak Door anyway.
Pretty grateful that the pan we've got trashed earlier at this point.
Yeah, that would have been a slightly oppressive. What do we think? We're going to look for either a...
I think, just money in one form or another.
Is it Gamble or Career Fair? I think that's probably a slightly unfair trade unless you have a good target for your Career Fair. So Strike Fund Career Fair.
Yeah, so 3 credits either way, but the Career Fair also gives you an install.
If he has something that it's worth...
If there is something worth playing. So
and
that was
you
kind of the logic.
You do deny him.
Yeah. It's either 3 credits or 3 credits and a click.
Yeah. Sees the Seamless.
Sees them, yeah.
Classic PD things, 6 cards in hand, doesn't matter if you've got 3 agendas in there.
Yeah, there's definitely 3 agendas in there at this point.
And getting to deny the tattoo is very frustrating.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's running just straight back in.
Yeah.
Farming
at
those
this
wake
point,
counters.
Sneak door. Why not get the wake up, get the accesses? Again, it's been a while. There's a big deal of sitting in hand. Again, not doing HQ is not doing a lot of work for me at this point.
Well, at least it's not giving him the agendas.
The one thing it is doing is not giving up the 50-50 on these agendas.
Yeah, and it's tough from here, but there are things like the Greasing the Palm that could help secure us from here. But at the moment, it's not in hand. We've got to top deck that.
Yeah. And 3 attempts at this HQ.
No agendas.
No agendas. So now I'm kind of thinking, luck is on my side. Can I make it look like there's no agendas in here or there's only 1 in here?
Yeah, which is often true, right? Sometimes when you're doing that HQ pressure, sometimes you get really unlucky, but it ends up being worth it because you just decide to send it. And interesting here, you top deck the Rashida.
Top deck Rashida, again, in this position, I know I want to get that installed and get that Tranquid Fire and just hope that we can recover back into this game a little bit.
The question is, what else can you do on your turn,
Yeah.
And do you have to play around diversion of funds?
That's going to be... it's going to be tough to do that. Tattoo Bowler helps a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to res Tattoo Bowler and think about swapping, it would be pretty terrifying. So
I also am not sure I've got any ice in hand for the swap.
I think you have a drafter.
Maybe 1, yeah.
1 drafter in hand. So pop in the spin.
Yeah.
And what do you think you're shuffling back?
It's tough here because...
Gatekeeper YDL.
Yeah, normally you want to leave YDL, at least 1 YDL in the bin. So your PD triggers, your drafters can get those back into hand.
So you're thinking they might not be coming in...
I don't think that's happening anytime soon, but I do leave it there trying to think long term and say I want that target there as make drafter a real threat.
I think that makes a lot of sense to me. But would it be fair to say that obviously this PD isn't quite as rushy as the Skunk Void one, but you were expecting at this point to have scored some agendas?
Absolutely, yeah. By this point in the game, we would like to have scored an agenda. At least 1. We'd also like to be on more than 2 credits.
Being on more than 2 credits does sound like it would be very nice right now.
Here I'm just kind of considering what are our outs, but it pretty much has to be this Rashida. I can't remember what the ice on the remote is, but obviously we need 2 pieces of ice for the.
I think it's the second. It's the second tattoo.
Yeah.
So I think that if you were to
It's an economic play either way.
Yeah, exactly. If you push the Rashida here and Banhar runs it, then I think that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Click or draw. And seeing the YDL.
Seeing a YDL.
Do you think you send that now?
Probably have to. As much as you don't want to, I'd be gambling a lot on that Rashida actually getting off. And yeah, 2 credits just isn't doing anything here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 of them are agendas. I think I've seen the Luminal and the...
We've got the Luminal, the Superconducting Hub, and I think a Midnight 3.
I see R&D. Do you know what? That seems like a strange call to me.
Yeah, I can't remember why I did that. I do remember why I did that, actually. It was specifically because of the 3 sneak doors.
3 sneak doors.
3 sneak doors missing. And I'm trying to basically say the game is an R&D.
Wow, okay, you're telegraphing quite a strong message about where the agendas are.
Yeah, trying to divert attention away from HQ. With the sneak door on the table, knowing that, Kikai can just hit HQ over and over. Trying to divert attention away, essentially.
Interesting, I quite like that. That's quite neat.
But it does mean we don't do the Rashida play, which, again, potentially might have been more impactful. Because we probably can't afford to res both Ice and R&D.
Yeah. We're Steving, and we'll Steve for just some money again.
Yeah, the at least one HQ run is going to happen anyway, because there's so much Steve value to get from it.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting to me that Kikai's not picking up these bravados.
Yeah, got the option.
And...
yeah, there's that big deal again.
Which he's going to think about.
The real trick to playing PD is just just have HQ hold out. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
So this time it does get trashed. Which is probably reasonable because that is... now we have some work to do to get that back in the deck if we want to close out that way.
Yeah, we're going to... And given the state we're in, right, we're going to assume that we can't just rush out past Kikai here.
And Kikai has access to plenty of money, even though there's a kind of low credit total now, having easy access to those bravados and strike fund, sure gamble, all available.
But you do get through the turn of 6 credits, and an install here will put you up to 8.
Yeah.
So there's a world in which you can push this Rashida.
No, definitely. And I think, we're just looking for any angle to... I think I'm very much thinking, can I do something that Kikai's not expecting here? Because I know that he'll kind of respect the most obvious lines.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And have a good read on things.
Do you think about trying to sneak out the superconducting hub at this point?
I definitely am thinking about it.
Icing the remote, going down to 5 credits. Installing... I think that's the Midnight.
I think it is as well. I cannot remember.
It could very well be the Luminal though. And then last click, credit. It looks like that was the Midnight. And we do have the Seamless in hand.
Yeah, so it gives us something.
And drawing 3 cards ain't nothing.
And we've got 2 ice on...
You can pick up the YDL.
All of the important servers. So, breakers actually have to exist. I forgot Cat's Cradle down.
And Banhai through a tattoo.
This was a slight mix-up on the day where I heard Run HQ. What was actually said was Banhar HQ.
Ah.
I think someone nearby kind of said, I also heard Run HQ. And we just had a bit of a mix-up. So I went to Res, but he was just putting the Banhar there.
That is so
sad. Giving up the tattoo builder information for free.
I've had a lot of...
I'm definitely feeling the pressure at this point of first cut game, top of Swiss going into this. Kikai, one of the best players around in general, but definitely
playing a deck that is very difficult to play against.
He's been playing this deck since EMEA. Really knows what he's doing, so it was always going to be hard work.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, for me, playing Banhar decks, that thing of announcing it at the start of the turn can be a little bit of a moment of confusion. But
it happens at any level of tournament at every level of play.
Yep.
Little things like that will come up and.
Dirty Laundry Archives see a seamless and next activation command.
I think I'm probably at that point thinking one seamless is enough, and now the diversion comes in.
Clicks 2 and 3?
I think so, yeah, and I think I'd probably stopped thinking about diversion at this point because it's,
Hey, the tattoo base is not so bad.
The tattoo means, I'd kind of thought about it earlier and it was going to kind of be okay, but it's still like we've just about started to maybe have some money and now it's gone.
A lot to think about here. Because if this goes off and he doesn't just run the remote, then you'll have a seamless advance line. Yeah. You pick up a YDL next turn, you'll be able to get that money back, but it's not the most tempo.
No, absolutely.
Play.
It's the kind of thing you might get away with.
You decide not to res the Tattoo Bowler.
Yeah, I can't remember why.
It's an interesting one, and he does pick up the Bravado.
I think I was thinking I need 3 credits for the remote.
Yeah.
Although, and that he could bounce, and I think I probably forgot about the Banhar.
That makes sense. It's an easy thing to forget about, but yeah, Banhar into Tattoo can be a liability for the runner.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in my head it was probably like he's going to bounce off this, and then or something like that.
Yeah, and then
that would probably be better overall. But... oh no, I think it was because I had no ice in hand at that point.
Oh really? That you just don't actually have the.
Don't have the ice, so at that point it is just -2.
Of course, you don't. Yeah,
diversion
makes perfect sense. That's sad, but he doesn't run the remote. I was fully expecting Bravado the remote last click.
Yeah, and I think at this point, I do go for the CM Style Advance, go to 0.
Pick up a YDL, and next turn you're committed
to go credit YDL.
Hey, that's a very valiant line, I think.
It's what you have to do. So yeah, we get the midnight.
We draw 3.
We draw 3.
I guess if you see a YDL here, you don't have to pick up a YDL.
That's right, but we don't see one.
And the RLC does make your next turn a little easier.
And then we get that.
You can do credit, we can red level.
We can buy ourselves back a click.
And then jab something, or... you have options here.
Yeah, and we've still got Trank on the table, so that buys us a little bit of room. We're just looking for every advantage, which is what this style of PD deck is very much leading into. Obviously, all PD decks are a bit like that, but this one really leverages every click. And the reason I started playing it, because it really teaches you good court fundamentals, and it's good to just lean back on that every now and then and go, I need to make sure every click is valuable.
Yeah, and but here we do see how good Bravado is, right? Because
it's just
you can't raise anything. You're going to get...
This is an easy turn for Kikai, yeah.
It's a slight... It's like...
With the wake implant here as well, this is...
Yeah, comparable to your YDL, right, in terms of the amount of value we're getting.
I'm probably feeling okay a little bit about R&D because I know where all the agendas are. So we have successfully diverted attention away from HQ a little bit.
We do get an Ikawa project, though.
We do, and I think that's the last 2 credits.
Yep.
On Kikai's side before this Bravado Magnet.
So if you're Kikai now, you start to hone back in on HQ.
Yeah, I think so. You saw 4 cards, 1 agenda. Odds are, there's
not a lot of cards left in R&D.
Yeah, exactly. And you're probably suspecting they're there anyway. But...
Are we going to sneak door? It looks like a sneak door.
Might as well.
Get another wake charge, get a Steve trigger, and what are we picking up here?
Yeah, the sheer amount of central pressure that comes off of this Steve deck is really impressive.
It looks like he's offering you Bravado or Strike Fund, or Bravado Doof is a difficult choice.
Wow. It's not Doof. I think it's going to be the Strike Fund. You're not getting a Bravado out of us there.
That's an interesting decision from Kikai there. I'm not sure
I think maybe at this point just there's not a lot in. There we go. Sneaks another one out.
5 points.
Had to give up an agenda from HQ eventually.
Yeah.
But we would like it to have not been that one.
It will hurt you on your YDL turn as well. It's a little sad. You have a Rashido.
Yeah, I think I was potentially looking at pushing that Luminal on the next turn as well.
Oh, as in credit, RLC YDL, install the Luminal.
Yeah, there are some lines there. that we can kind of do a lot with 0 credits and an RLC and a YDL. That we can
still be
do
doing
more
something
than you'd expect.
I think, and you still have that superconducting hub in hand, which if you push that here doesn't do anything for Kikai.
Yeah. So this is the thing with this agenda suite, is that there comes a point in every game where you have to decide what your scoring pattern is going to be. If we go for the superconducting hub, then we're kind of saying we have to get
2 more 4-2s.
Some more 2-pointers, and losing the luminal there makes that much harder.
That is true.
But equally, that having 8 hand size makes, and being able to pick up a YDL could turn the kind of economic situation around.
Yeah.
So credit, red level.
Gain 2 and gain your click back.
Gain 2. I think it might be install a non-agenda card.
Before the YDL?
Oh no, it was just get the click back, YDL, and then we've still got a click for an install in the remote.
Yeah, I think that's a 6 credit. 6 credit YDL. And then 1 click left, which we'll use to... We are jamming the superconducting.
Yeah, so as much as, we were on 0 credits last turn, now we're on 8.
Yeah.
And we installed in the remote. So this deck is really fun.
Kikai's still not got most of the rig out,
No.
Whilst there is a power move in the bin, which is very sad.
Very clearly saying Banhart HQ.
Banhart HQ. It's, to me, it's difficult not to get the power move down, but we still don't have most of our breakers. We still don't have Paragon.
Yep.
And we've drawn a lot of cards this game.
Really gone through the deck.
See what you like about criminal card draw, but an Earthrise and a class act gets you a long way.
Yeah, a neutral card and some anarch cards will do a lot for you. So here comes the diversion through the Tatabola that we know is there.
And I assume we're going to get a swap off the
Actually
Tattoo.
do have a swap now.
Do a damage. It's a boomerang.
Boomerang. Not unhappy about that.
Yeah. And install. And then Kikai breaks for 2. And then you go down to 5.
Yeah, which is, not ideal, but it's a lot better than where we were.
Yeah. He gets a Paragon trigger. And that's what's so wonderful about playing the Steve deck. I know that you were having a difficult time.
Oh, absolutely. I think the Steve deck is awesome.
But getting to do this diversion run and get the Paragon credit and get the weight counter. And
there's just so much going on, from one run.
Yeah. If I was Kikai here, I would have offered up the wake implant a lot sooner, I think.
Do you mean the pan weave?
The pan weave, sorry, just to get a doof back or to get that bravado that ended up getting discarded, just one of those ones where you go...
Yeah, I'm never giving that pan weave back, so...
But, I don't know the contents of his hand. He might not have really been screaming out for a cybernetic.
Yeah, I think his money situation is kind of comfortable, 11 credits there and not being forced to spend much of it.
Yeah. He doesn't have the tremolo though, so the pan moves don't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily give all the value that you might expect.
So here, I think I could score the superconducting hub and probably should. And this is probably a misplay on my part. But seeing the diversion come down, being on 5 credits, I'm starting to worry that, again, going down to 0 is going to be a problem. And the bit that my brain forgot was that if I score the superconducting hub,
you pick up a
I
YDL.
pick up a YDL.
Yeah.
And that kind of, after a long day of net running,
round
just
8.
miss that moment. But I think there's some really nice lines where we score that, pick up a YDL, and we have a big YDL the following turn, and start to kind of put some nice pressure on. Yeah,
I can also see installing a Managam here.
Yeah, installing the Managam feels pretty good to just get a bit of money, keep being defensive. I was just worried about overextending.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just say, let's get money and protect our centrals. This wake is still sitting on 4.
Oof.
One R&D run could be the end of the game at any moment. So
yeah,
if we let that happen too easily, it's getting dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, Kikai really just wants to start finding some permanent solutions to ice, turning that end game pressure on.
Yeah, kind of
trying to finish out the game.
I think as Kikai here, you're looking at R&D, you're expecting that to be a drafter on the inside, and you can't afford to let that fire.
And we're just diversion.
And there comes the next diversion.
Yeah, which is gonna. If this isn't, I assume this isn't a tattoo on the outside, so this is gonna be expensive. Yeah.
So Kikai, he's a very good player, but also he drew 3 diversions of fund.
He's drawn through almost all of his deck at this point. He's drawn a lot of cards.
Every card, yeah. And it's like every moment I'm thinking I might get away with something here, the bad card appears.
I mean, it's surprising to me how consistently you can do that as Steve. It rarely bricks out totally. You normally have those lines of attack. And Banhaus, the grease, right? If you get that turn 1, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, it's a difficult one.
And we Resin Ablative.
So a Resin Ablative, this is, I think, misplay number 2, is using this ablative.
I assume you're going to use it to install Rashida?
Yes. I believe so. And kind of thinking, I get the credits from the Trank grid here, but we get rid of the superconducting hub.
Very interesting, okay.
And I think, again, kind of missing the idea that scoring that also picks me up a YDL. And
more than 2 credits.
It's a lot more than... the 3 credits spent is made back in spades.
Yeah. And he loses... wow. Kikai playing quite an unorthodox Steve game here, I think.
Yeah,
Just sensing
definitely.
how much on the back foot you are and how much access he has to centrals. And just saying...
And absolutely keeping the pressure on. I don't think he's had a single turn without a run.
I'm going to go for accesses rather than, the kind of bullying that I can.
Yeah, don't need to set up a huge board state here. Just keep you on the back foot as much as possible.
Picking up another doof, stealing all your money.
Yeah, and again, 3 credits here. We could if we had the superconducting hub in there, we could actually still go for
score that next turn.
Have a hand size of 8.
But yeah, your R&D is feeling exposed at this stage of the game.
Exactly.
Regardless of which route you went down, I think you're feeling
the pressure. The wake coming down early in the game
has made a huge difference.
Has made a huge difference because that you can't ignore that pressure, and
the sneak door has been very good.
Sneak door's doing the work. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's still one of my favourite cards in the Steve deck. Is Sneak Door. It's just because of the amount of HQ pressure we're putting on, it just feels.
It was a spin as well. It wasn't even a Rashida.
That is kind of sad.
Yeah,
you're really expecting him to take the bait, but
I think that was part of it. Was saying
that's interesting to me. Yeah, I mean, not to be too critical of your play.
No, absolutely.
But shuffling back in the superconducting hub doesn't make a difference, right? He's not. It doesn't help him in any way, shape, or form.
I think he has stolen an Ikawa, so there is still. He's got the luminol. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so stealing that
doesn't help him at all.
No,
and you're not excited to draw it.
I'm not looking to score it anymore. I think part of me was thinking going 2-2-2-1 is going to be too difficult. To pull off. We need to get an Ikawa and a 2-pointer.
But yeah, ever getting a big deal off is probably difficult this game.
Yeah, it's not a big deal game. Which is okay. I think a lot of people play this Shoot the Moon as a big deal deck.
Oh, really?
And I don't see it that way. I mean, you do use big deal in a reasonable percentage of games.
But not every game.
Definitely.
Interesting.
It's usually either going to be... I think I drew Superconducting Hub, regretting the shuffle.
Oh. Sam.
But no, I'd usually say, you will use it in many games, but next activation command is there for the games where you don't, where you want to pressure the remote, and sometimes that's the card you pull back a couple times because you can see that's gonna give you your remote. Yeah.
That makes sense to me. I think most of your agendas are still in R&D.
They are now, yeah.
Which is scary.
Yeah, with that wake on 6 now.
Yep. I assume we've gone far past wherever Kikai was, and you've done a Spin Doctor shuffle since, so he'll see 4 brand new cards.
Yes.
And
I think a lot of kind of PD criminal games can feel this way, and again, I think a week later a week or two later, we had the Summer Showdown. And every time I turned that stream on, it was a PD or a Acer list being bullied by a criminal.
Yeah.
Because the 419 list kind of got really popular there. And I chose to stop playing PD at that point. Because, the criminal is kind of the natural predator, I think, in a lot of ways.
Install Advanced in the remote.
Especially this Steve list.
Is this your patented NGO front in the remote?
Yes. That was my tech card. We kind of established there's one flex slot available in this list. Sometimes it's the second big deal. Sometimes it's something else. I went for the NGO because almost exactly this kind of situation where the runner can run your remote, but you can tax them out a bit and they're going to have to pay through Managarm, and you can make it an NGO, so it's kind of useless. And I just had enough games during our testing where NGO is like the card that swings the matchup.
Yeah, I've seen people online compliment it as well as kind of like just people don't expect it out of PD.
Yeah, and it's mainly against Shaper is like where it really comes in handy, because Shaper is kind of sitting there camping the remote, and if you can make them spend even 5 credits and having to deal with Managarm.
Yeah, if you're getting some revolver counters or you're getting some...
Yeah, one more time than they'd like to, then... and you're getting the money back. It can just make enough of a difference.
Yeah, and it seems good here. But you still res the Managarm, so you can't just walk in and trash it. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
just make it taxing.
He is going to pay for it.
Yeah, it spends the clicks.
So I think it makes sense, right? You're still on 2 points. You're going to need a remote server.
Yeah.
And we've got all of this money coming in from Bravado. We can just...
Yeah, Bravado really going to make... If it wasn't a Bravado run, I feel great here. But, yeah. And we see the shutdown in hand. Nothing really worth shutting down, which is one thing I learned playing against in the little bit of testing we did is like, don't bowl with the Bran. All of your other ice, you're like not. You're happy enough to have it shut down. I'd like to get my Gatekeeper back up.
Yeah.
I'd like to get my Ablative back.
And trashing that.
Losing the Managarm, that's the second time Managarm's gone, and that is our only defensive upgrade.
And we're getting rid of the Trank as well.
Yeah, with the Bravado money coming in, you can afford to.
Just saying, no, I'm going to stop you from winning this game. Stop you from doing much, which is, Steve's MO.
It's good to watch it back and see, like, there was definitely how much difference it can make. 1 or 2 little different kind of plays. And I'm not saying it would change the result, but the game can feel very different, and it just shows at this level of play how tight everything has to be.
Yeah.
There is, little room for error.
Yeah, and I spent most of this season playing Hashiko.
Yeah.
And have switched to mainly playing the Steve deck. And it's not necessarily that I feel like the Steve is much stronger than the Red Hashiko decks that I was playing, but it's that I feel like it requires so much of the court player.
Yes.
Yeah, just
the amount. Yeah, it's not saying, it's unbeatable. But
yeah.
Beating it means you have to play.
Very well. You have to know what
carefully.
You're doing.
Yeah.
You have to have answers to my specific questions.
Yeah, it means you have to play defensively. And a lot of corps, especially in the meta at the moment, don't particularly want to. They want to play aggressively. They want to play their game plan fast.
Yep.
There's a couple of exceptions, but
There's a very funny moment here of Kikai realising he's got a Steve trigger and going, oh god, what am I going to get with that? Which is one of those things where you're pretty ahead in a game where you're like...
Oh, hang on, I can have an extra card here.
Yeah. And he's going to run the R&D.
Here comes the R&D run.
And you've kind of got to assume this is the last click of the game, right? I can't...
there's one agenda in hand, which means there are quite a few.
There's 4 agendas in R&D, yeah.
Res this into Manhar.
Yep. He doesn't have a revolver.
No, and only 1 card in hand. So, instead of border control, if we had a snare... we couldn't afford to fire it.
We're not resing that second ice. And 1 is a border control.
Yeah, would have loved to see that earlier.
Drafter. 3.
Stop one of these diversions.
Midnight 3 Arcology. Big handshake, big hugs.
Yeah. He gets it.
Yeah, I can imagine that was a difficult game to lose.
It was
coming off of a hot winning streak.
Definitely a tough one to lose, but equally, there was a couple of little misplays in there, and Kikai played it extremely well and deserved to win it. So
yeah,
and someone gave me terrible advice over which match to play.
Well, even given that bad blood between us, thank you for coming on and doing these commentaries. It's been very fun. Did you have a good? It's been great. Did you have a good time at regionals overall?
Regionals were great. Yeah. As like someone who's been playing the game for a while, and you did an article recently talking about how people mentioned the good old days, but it really feels like, it's like that it was back in the good old days, if not better. The UK scene's really thriving, and there's a lot of really lovely people playing the game.
Yeah, and all of those people, every single one of them, should come to UK Nationals in Bristol in November, which should be very fun.
Absolutely, the hypest event of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing, and you should play Banha Steve.
Apparently so.
If Banha Steve wins Wilds, I'll be over the moon. Right. Thank you very much for watching. If you got this far, we've got 2 more videos left in the series. We have, hopefully, more EA Sports members coming on and commentating their own games. So we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks for having me.